So about 15 years ago, I was at home watching a YouTube video, and there's a famous atheist, written lots of books, and I've read three of his books, actually, listened to his podcast, and I was watching him on YouTube. He's in a university setting, and he's going on and on and on about the absurdity of Christianity. So his argument went, hey, look at all these errors in the Bible, and he was pointing out historical errors and scientific errors and just some absurd things that were in the Old Testament in particular, and then some things in the New Testament as well. And his point is, look, these things aren't true. So if these things aren't true, the Bible isn't true. And if the Bible isn't true, the Bible can't be trusted. If all of it isn't historically, mathematically, and scientifically accurate, then why would anybody believe any of it, right? That might as well just dispense with the whole thing. And at the end of the day, we should just dispense with Christianity. According to this misguided assumption, unfortunately, that too many Christians hold on to, and it's what we're talking about today, the legitimacy of Christianity sits precariously atop a collection of errorless or inerrant ancient texts. That was the assumption of his talk. And then he just dismantled the text. And if you dismantle the text, you dismantle the Bible, you dismantle Christianity. We're done here. It's a house of cards. You just pull out the creation account. You pull out Leviticus. You pull out some things from the New Testament. The whole thing comes crumbling down. Goodbye, Bible. Goodbye, Christianity. Now, this is not true. So, pay close attention. Today we're wrapping up our series that I've so enjoyed putting together, and I think some of you have enjoyed as well, The Fundamentalist, subtitled Recovering the Essentials of Our Faith. The bottom line for this series is that we're asking the question, what must a person believe, not do, but what must a person believe in order to be a faithful follower of Jesus? What's essential? What's the irreducible minimum? So we've said so far, we've discovered 7 things. And we've done these chronologically, basically, as we follow Jesus through the gospel. So I'm gonna hit these real quick. Number 1, Jesus is God's Son and our King. We started with this one because this is what Jesus claimed about himself. Number 2, Jesus came to illustrate and demonstrate what God the Father is like. Number 3, Jesus defined sin specifically as anything that harms you or others. Number 4, that Jesus promised justice in the end and invites us to trust him in the meantime. And number 5, that Jesus died for your sin to reconcile you to God. And then number 6, that Jesus established an ecclesia, a movement, a group of people that we call the church. And the church, we discover, is God's agent of transformation personally, culturally, and ultimately globally. And this is why number 7, Jesus said at the very end of his ministry, I want you to take what I've taught you and I want you to teach others. So today, as we wrap this up, number 8, we're gonna talk specifically about the Bible. Now this one's a little different, because Jesus never mentions the Bible, because there was no Bible. The Bible wasn't assembled the way we think about the Bible until the 4th century. So this one is a little different, but we're asking the same question. What must we believe about the Bible, or what must one believe about the Bible to be a follower of Jesus? In other words, what is essential? Most evangelical Christians hold to some biblical view or some view of biblical inspiration, infallibility, or inerrancy. Most of you probably do as well. However, and I'm not picking on you, I'm just pointing out something that's kind of obvious. Regardless of which words you choose, if you choose one of these words, you probably couldn't define it exactly, but you just believe God gave us his word and God spoke and we have it. And there's just a general sense that the Bible is inspired or it's infallible or there are no errors, it's inerrant. But the bottom line is this. When it comes to what you must believe about the Bible in order to be a follower of Jesus, it really boils down to this. You have to believe, when it comes to the Bible, that Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John are reliable accounts of actual events. That's it. Because if you adopt any one of the 4 Gospels as something that's a reliable account of actual events, you're there because all 4 of these Gospels present Jesus as God's Son and your King. And everything we've talked about in this series flows from that one simple idea. It means that what he said about God is true, what Jesus said about you is true, and what Jesus said about the Hebrew Scriptures is true. That Christianity does not rise or fall on our ability to prove that the Bible is without errors. Christianity rises and falls based on the identity of Jesus, which is validated by the resurrection of Jesus. I want to read to you one of the most overlooked and yet one of the most important statements in the New Testament, the Apostle Paul. He said, if Jesus has not been raised, all my preaching is useless. He says, not just mine, ready? Our preaching, Peter's preaching, John's preaching, James, the brother of Jesus, preaching, and Matthew's preaching, anybody who's out there preaching about Jesus, it is useless. Then he doubles down. Not only is my preaching useless, so is your faith, because the only reason we take that rabbi from Nazareth seriously was the resurrection, because it affirmed what he claimed about himself. The problem with Jesus was not what he taught. The problem with Jesus is what he said about himself. And the resurrection of Jesus validated his claims to be the Son of God, the resurrection and the life, and your King. His point is simply this, that the foundation of our faith is an event, the resurrection, that launched a movement, the Church of Jesus, that ultimately assembled the first Bible in the 4th century. So, is the Bible important? It's extraordinarily important. The precision that we demand from written text today was not an ancient expectation. The reason we demand such precision in our modern world is because we can pull it off. Again, is there a case to be made that the Bible is without error? Yes. Is holding that view essential to following Jesus? No. The Bible should never be an obstacle to faith. Is it important? Of course it's important. Is it essential? Yes, it's essential. But it should never be an obstacle, because the Bible isn't the starting place. Jesus is the starting. What must we believe about the Bible in order to be a follower of Jesus? The Bible, here's what we have to believe. The Bible documents God's redemptive activity in the world, culminating in the arrival of his final king. The story arc of the entire Bible should cause all of us, all mankind, the entire human race, to drop to our knees in gratitude for what God has done on our behalf, for what God has done on behalf of the world. If for no other reason, here's why you should read the Bible. Because the words of Jesus recorded in the Gospels are the very words of God.